When talking about national security, we tend to think about missiles, fighter jets, spies, or hackers lurking in the dark. But for the Chinese government, one of the most important building blocks of national security is food. Every year, the central government releases a #1 document, which outlines policies and priorities for the rural sector. In 2023, the document placed great emphasis on food security. In 2022, China's grain output reached a record high of 686 million tons, despite delayed plantings, extreme weather, and COVID-19 disruptions, according to government statistics. So what makes the world's second largest economy consider food supplies a matter of life and death? Firstly, China has a lot of mouths to feed, with the world's biggest population of 1.4 billion people. Secondly, in Chinese history, famines and food crises repeatedly sparked peasant rebellions and political uprisings that toppled regimes. Since 1949, Chinese Communist Party leaders and policymakers have always considered food security a crucial requirement for retaining political power. The Great Famine that swept through the country from 1958 to 1962 and killed millions of people is still rooted in the hearts of older generations. A close look at recent numbers shows why Chinese leaders have plenty of reasons to be alarmed. China has actually been a net importer of agricultural products since 2004, and the country has become increasingly dependent on food from outside its borders. A country's food self-sufficiency ratio is the amount of food its population consumes compared with how much it produces on its own. Between 2000 and 2020, China's ratio fell from 93.6% to 65.8%. Experts predict the figure will drop further to 58.8% by 2030. Decades of rapid economic growth have also driven up demand for edible oils, sugar, meat, and processed foods. China's edible oil import dependency ratio reached nearly 70% in 2021. China also imported over 96 million tons of soybeans in 2021, which accounted for 60% of the global trade volume. The disruptions to food supplies due to the war in Ukraine, rising tensions with the US, and the COVID-19 pandemic have also highlighted its over-reliance on food imports.
国内稳产保供的确定性，来应对外部环境的不确定性。国内粮食市场呢，近年来始终保持供应充足、运行平稳的良好态势。
So what exactly does that mean? China's rapid economic development has also led to rapid urbanization and loss of farmland. The Chinese government has set a farmland redline policy to preserve it.
坚决守住18亿亩耕地红线，完成高标准农田新建和改造提升的年度任务，抓紧制定逐步把永久基本农田全部建成高标准农田的实施方案。
Well-facilitated farmland refers to large and level tracts of arable and fertile land with facilities, such as irrigation, to withstand adverse natural conditions.
对。
But ensuring suitable farmland conditions is just one step in ensuring food security. Food isn't the only thing China is importing. Its farmers also rely on imported seeds, which have higher yield. China's per unit yield of corn is 60% less than that of the US, where genetically modified crops are widely used. The country's per unit yield for soybean is only 60% of the global advanced level. China's Ministry of Agriculture regards seeds as microchips of agriculture. The deficit in China's sea trade widened to $350 million in 2021, a huge plunge from a surplus of $37 million in 2014, according to the China National Sea Trade Association and Agricultural Trade Promotion Center. In late 2019, authorities issued, for the first time in a decade, biosafety certificates for domestically grown GM soybean crops and 2 corn crops. Since then, Beijing has accelerated approval for more varieties. For the first time since 2013, China has enlarged its list of state-sponsored seed breeding and production bases, adding 116 to the existing 100 hubs already operating. The government hopes the national bases will supply more than 80% of the seeds needed for crop production by 2025. The government also boosted the budget for its grain reserves. It will spend nearly 132.9 billion yuan in 2023, up from 113.6 billion yuan in 2022. But despite these measures, challenges remain for China's agricultural industry. Take this village in Hubei province. A combination of adverse climates, social changes, and crop prices have left farmers struggling.
打工了，年轻族打工了，都是些老多都在屋里。
能浇地吗？
浇不能浇，没得水啊，没得水都是靠他自己下海逮鱼啊，只有等了。人领导说，等岸上有大渠，不打鸡，不叫打这边，打西的岸上。
In 1949, more than 89% of China's population lived in rural areas. In 2018, that figure dropped to 40%. China's rural population is also aging faster than its urban counterparts. More than 20% of the residents in the countryside are over 60 years old, compared to 15% in the cities. The Chinese government has responded by trying to modernize rural villages, including introducing the internet, building better infrastructure, and improving elderly care in these areas. It also said it will increase subsidies for farmers, like raising the minimum purchase price of wheat and other major crops, and subsidizing purchases of farm machinery. China has the unenviable mission of feeding 1/5 of the world's population with less than 10% of the world's arable land. Its success in achieving the goal of food self-sufficiency hinges on how well it tackles the problems of its agricultural sector.